And welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Monday, October 10th, the day that Native Americans found Columbus wandering the shores of North America, lost, looking for a place called India, they say. I'm your host for today's program, and many of the stories we read here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com, and here are some of the news stories from the day. The challenger has a lead in the hotly contested race for chief of one of the nation's biggest American Indian tribes. A October 9th count of votes cast in person put longtime Cherokee Nation Councilman Bill John Baker ahead of former principal chief Chad Smith by 61% to 39%. The tribe's election commission says Baker had 6,223 votes to Smith's 4,046. However, up to 12,000 absentee ballots were still needed to be counted. A winner may not be confirmed until sometime later this week. The election that began September 24th was scheduled after the result of a June 25th election was ruled invalidated. And today we take you on a short tour produced by Dale Kakkak, where he visits the Oneida Nation of Wisconsin for their 18th annual Junhinkwa Corn Husking Bee from this last weekend, with tribal people from the Shoshone-Bannock Reservation at Fort Hall to White Earth, Minnesota, talking about relearning how to grow corn. It may just be another step in that process of reacquiring our skills to harvest it as well.
Okay, the whole overall deal is we're trying to harvest our corn for this year. And so what we do is we send people out to the fields and they pick the corn and they bring it back under this tent. And what these other people are doing is they're husking it down to the 3 inner leaves. And so what they do is they put them in these boxes. What I do is I go pick up the boxes and I look at the 3 leaves and I cut this knob off so that it's actually part of the stalk. And so that they can get a tighter braid. If you check that guy out, what we do is cut these off and we put them in boxes of 65. So when we bring them down there, all the braiders have to do is pick them up and start braiding. So this guy right here, I brought him a box of 65. So he's actually braiding it up. If you want to take a look at that, that's the next step. And then after that, they hang them on this rack for a few hours. And
so
then
this is a husking bee?
Harvest and husking bee, we call it, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And then we feed people at noon, and we have a few door prizes. But anyways, after we hang the braid up for a couple hours, then it goes to the big shed, and we try to get about 200 braids every year. And we hang them up to dry, and these are all food. This is all different food for us, from soup, mush, bread, and then they make flour out of it for making the mush and the bread as well.
So it's all grown here.
It's all grown here. We grow 6 acres. It's all hand harvested. It's all hand shelled, and most of it goes right over to our community cannery, and then they process it there, and then it goes back out into the community. So that's the quick story. Yeah, check these mats out. This gentleman right here that's doing the braiding, actually these are made out of the corn husk. And this is the corn husk right here made into a mat, and they just took sinew, you can see that right here, and tied that together in a circle. So this is one of the mats. Here's another one right here. This is another style. This is the front side of it, and this would be the back here. And that's all tied in. And this is again another one of the, you can see the thread here on this one, and this is a mat that he's made out of these corn braids. And what they do here is they save all these different husks. They can either make a handle for the braid out of it, or some people make dolls and different things like that out of all these husks. So these are all separate ones right here that they've taken off, and they save them, and they do different things with them.
So you're using everything, the whole plant?
Yes.
You need to make milk or something?
So that's the quick version.
Thanks, Ted. So what is it you're working on there, Tom?
Well, we're braiding the ears here together so we can hang them up and so they can dry.
How did you come about all the way from Kakkak over to Oneida here? How did you find out about it?
Well, Kenny, one of the members here, he was demonstrating making the rugs down at Indian Summerfest in Milwaukee. And so I learned how to do that, and I went home and I made my own rug, and then I decided to come over here one year for the, he invited me up to come up for their, for corn harvest. So it's, I enjoy doing it. It's nice activity to get together, and we can all sit around and talk and have a good time, share stories, and it's a very neat way of preserving cultural foods, and I think it's something that everyone should know about.
And then even if you get down to food. Well, after the corn is braided down under the big tent, we bring it up here to the corn shed. We'll have over 200 braids hanging here by the end of the week here. And what it does here, it allows it to dry at a uniform rate. It's great storage. It's a traditional storage way. All right, here we go. Don's up here. He's a hard-working corn guy. Alrighty. Bonjour, Easy. All right.
Thanks.
You see, this will be going on for a while.
Can you tell me how many acres of corn you guys grew this year, approximately?
Well, we grew approximately 6 acres. We do that every year. We do rotational grazing and rotational growing. So for 2 years, it'll be in a good pasture mix, which we also use to feed our animals, our grass-fed beef. And like I say, we use the fertilizer as cattle do. They will supply us with the fertilizer that we need for our corn. So we are certified organic. The corn here is a traditional white corn that came with the Haudenosaunee from out east, and it has a protein content of approximately 17% compared to your basic genetically modified corn, which is 4 or 5%.
Cool.
So when mixed with beans, this creates a complete protein. So it's our people knew what they were doing for hundreds, thousands of years, and every native community in the U.S. had their own variety of corn, and there's a shortage of the heirloom corn right now, but the Oneida, Wisconsin, and the other Haudenosaunee tribes of the Northeast have been able to keep this line alive. So it benefits the community, and it's healthy. When you're talking about healthy living, so we will have people actually take it off the cob, and what you will see is the process for bringing about the corn is very labor and human and social intensive. Every time you look, there's a human being. There's not a lot of mechanics involved in it. It's all hand-picked, hand-harvested, hand-dried.
So what is the what does it mean to be organic versus a regular farm, and why did Oneida establish this Junhinqua?
Well, I've only been here 4 years. I'm not Oneida, I'm Menominee, but I've had the pleasure of working down here and learning this. One of the reasons they went organic is it just makes sense, When we do it, it's sustainable. You're not putting chemicals in the ground. You're not polluting your groundwater. You're working with all the natural elements that are there. Like I say, our cattle, they get no additives in their life. They're grass-fed. Basically, they're free range, and that's what they do. They prepare the fields for us. And the other is, you look at it, if you look in our communities, you're going to find a lot of maybe the behavioral problems are related to diet. And when you start adding all kinds of chemicals and hormones and additives, that just has repercussions in your body. So it's like taking care of the earth. If you work with the natural laws that we're all given, it just helps embellish our community. It's good, not only good for us, but it's good for the environment. What we do is go like this. You take them, you pop them off, and then what we do is we kick this down after you pick it.
Yeah, I know what to do.
Alrighty, try that one.
Yeah.
Find one with an ear, Austin.
What do the corn monkeys do?
Oh, they live out here, but they don't like it when people don't do the corn right.
This is like soft and...
Is that? Let me see. Oh yeah, well, kick it down. That one doesn't have a cob. Alright, ninja move. Hey, there you go. Alrighty. Now look at some of those are almost on the ground. We'll help him out. This one right here. So this is what we're looking for.
Hey,
Pop
is
them
that a
off.
big one? Yeah. Huge one.
And that's what we get, you know.
And Dale is considering producing a longer version with additional interviews that we hope we'll see posted at Indian Country TV in the near future. October 8th marked the 2-year anniversary of a sweat lodge ceremony that led to the death of 3 people in northern Arizona. James Arthur Ray, a self-help author who touted the ceremony as a spiritual rebirth, was convicted in June on 3 counts of negligent homicide. More than 50 people participated in the 2-hour sweating lodge, a sauna-like ceremony that many Native Americans use in an entirely different way to help get rid of toxins and to connect spiritually. This was meant to have been the highlight of Ray's Spiritual Warrior Seminar near Sedona, Arizona. Instead, it may end up that he'll be sitting in prison. A Columbus Day parade in Denver that has history of confrontations between organizers and Native American activists took place without any arrest. The Denver Post reports the parade of floats, motorcyclists, and vehicles decorated with Italian flags peacefully passed through downtown Denver this last weekend. Denver police spokeswoman Sonny Jackson says officers were stationed near protesters who chanted their opposition to honoring Christopher Columbus, who they believe touched off centuries of oppression of Native Americans. Jackson says police were there to ensure safety of protesters and parade participants. Colorado was the first state to declare Columbus Day a public holiday in 1907. It was designated as an official national holiday in 1971. The parade has been met with many protests throughout the year, sometimes resulting in dozens of arrests. The state of Michigan is looking for volunteers who can help harvest native prairie seeds at state parks and recreation areas in southern Michigan. Department of Natural Resources says volunteers are needed on weekends throughout October and early November. The collected seeds will be used to restore tallgrass prairie, lake plain prairie, and oak savanna ecosystems nearly eliminated when the state was settled by Europeans. The ecosystems can be found in small remnants, many within state parks and recreation areas. A schedule of 16 collection dates, including meeting times, locations, and a registration form, can be found at the DNR website at michigan.gov/DNR volunteers, and we'll put that up on the board for you to look at. And that's going to be another roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. Thanks for joining in, and come back again soon.